The next type of factoring is more with trinomials, and this time they have a lead coefficient that is not 1. Although you always want to look for a GCF first to see if you can factor it out and maybe make it a simpler T-chart method of factoring. Well, in this case, we do not have a GCF. We start out the AC method the same way that we start out the T-chart method. And let me back up. The reason it's called the AC method is, remember, a basic quadratic equation or expression, ax squared plus bx plus c. So we've got AC, and hopefully AC method makes you think that we will be multiplying those together. And we do. 3 times 2 is 6, so we're going to look for two numbers that multiply to 6 and add to -5. So again, very similar to the way we start the T-chart method. Well, -3 times -2 multiplies to 6 and adds to 5. We do not use these to factor like we do with the T-chart. We use them to set up grouping. So we leave our 3y squared alone, and we rewrite the -5y as -3y minus 2y. Now we have 4 terms, and we can set up our grouping. So the first 2 terms have a GCF of 3y, leaving us with y minus 1. I get a lot of students that drop that 1. Remember, we're dividing, not canceling. So -3y divided by 3y leaves us with a 1. Second 2 terms have opposite signs, so I'm going to factor out a -2, leaving me with y minus 1. Y minus 1 is my GCF, leaving me with 3y minus 2. We'll practice this a couple more times. Next one, look for a GCF. No common factor, so we're going to start by multiplying our 2 times -15 and seeing what multiplies to -30 and adds to 7. And I'm getting 10 times -3 and 10 plus -3. Again, use those to rewrite your middle term as 10x minus 3x, and then factor by grouping. First 2 terms have a GCF of 2x. Dividing those out, we get x plus 5. Second 2 terms have a GCF of -3. And again, we have x plus 5 left over, so that's our new GCF, leaving us with 2x minus 3. One more AC method example. This time we do have a GCF. We have a GCF of -1 because we always want that lead coefficient to be positive. It just makes our factoring life so much easier. So I'm going to factor out that negative and then set up my T-chart for the AC method. Just looking at what's inside the parentheses, what multiplies to -90 and adds to -9. Well, 10 times 9, the obvious choice, doesn't work, so now we're going to have to think about what other numbers multiply to 90. 3 times 30 isn't going to work, but 6 times 15 also multiplies to 90. So we're going to have a -15 times a +6, which will also add to that -9. That negative on the outside is just going to go along, and I'm going to use a bracket to make it a little bit simpler once I start my grouping. The 9x becomes -15x plus 6x. Now my first 2 terms have a GCF of 3x, leaving me with 3x minus 5. Second 2 terms have a GCF of 2, leaving me with 3x minus 5. So when all is said and done, I've got the negative out front. 3x minus 5 is my GCF, leaving me with 3x plus 2.